Alright, good evening everyone. Welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Season 6 opener here for the Area 51 Racing League Cup Series. So you've got the schedule up for tonight's race here at Homestead. 100 laps is the distance. So you also see the schedule there up top there. So we've got, next up will be Atlanta, followed by Charlotte, Auto Club, Phoenix. So you got kind of a short track stint there. You got Phoenix, Iowa, Richmond before then we have to drivers are going to have to try to tame Darlington before finishing things off at Texas, Kansas, Dover, and the finale in Las Vegas. So you can see the schedule is going to actually bring us into February of 2021. So I'm going to have plenty of racing during the off season. So really appreciate you all joining us this evening. Looking forward to tonight's race. I say drivers making their qualifying laps right now. Say obviously a couple things to note is a few of the big changes that have happened between Season 5 and 6. The most critical of those being there are no more fast repairs, so I think that's going to definitely change some of the driving strategies of some of these drivers. And again, I say a few new faces and a few new returning faces, so we'll go over those once we go over our starting grid. So we'll let these drivers finish up their laps, and then we will get things going in just a moment. Alright, so here's our starting grid for tonight's race at Homestead. And as I was mentioning, going to have a few new faces or returning faces names. Starting off with that number 67 of Larry Yingling. Larry kind of was doing crew chief duties for season 5 for some of our drivers here, so he's going to hop back into the car and obviously is leaving off where he or returning where he left off, I should say, on pole position here for tonight's event. Next to him, you got Corey Lane in the number 10. Then you got Levi Cox in third. And then, like I mentioned, another new face here, Andrew Pileshi in that number 82 is going to start in the 4th position. You've got Ryan Kelly, Maxwell Caldwell. We saw those two battle it out for the title for Season 5. You got Chad Wilkes in 7th, Charles Johnson in 8th. At 9th through 16th here, you got James Ledford, Chris Chabot, David Patton, Jack Walls, Bud Steele, Brendan Passalacqua, Jim Brooks, and Jason Bridges. And then 17th through 24th, Robbie Richards, Dalton Hayes, Todd Merkel, Mark Brown, Dwight Plesh, Michael Spell, Nicholas Winook, Gary Corley. And it looks like the last driver in the field here, number 25th in the field, is that number 53 of Ryan Walsh. So again, scheduled distance for tonight's race is 100 laps tonight here at Homestead. Fuel windows, I believe, right around that 40-ish or so lap window. So I believe everybody will have to make two stops on fuel to make it to the end. We'll see what the strategies are going to be. If drivers are going to maybe try to split it evenly around that 33.66 mark. Or will we see drivers maybe try to stretch it a little bit further and see if maybe those fresher tires towards the end of the race come into play or not. So we'll have to see a lot of strategy that can unfold this evening. I see drivers heading out of the pits and going on their warm-up lap here. And we will get things underway here in just a moment. As you see, the 53 is in the server, but it looks like he has missed the start, so he will have to start from the pits, unfortunately. However, we'll be able to still take part in tonight's event. So again, this is going to be race 1 of 12, season 6 here. So we'll see if that 94 Maxwell Caldwell, if he's going to be able to defend his season 5 championship, or will it be someone different? Could it be Ryan Kelly getting that one spot better? Could it be that 14 Levi Cox, 67 Larry Yingling, or possibly even our newest member, that number 82 of Andrew Pileshi? So there's going to be a lot of names here. So you can see a lot of these guys up front. Chad Wilkes, another name to mention. That being said, though, we're about to get going here. Pace car is off. Once that green flag flies, we will be underway for the start of tonight's race as Larry Yingling leads the field here at Miami. I saw Maxwell get loose there in 1 and 2. He's able to hang on to it. Definitely a big moment for him there. So he's going to drop a bunch of spots, but able to recover. That's the more critical thing. You see Bud Steele, I think he had to react to that as well. So they're both going to drop a few spots here through 3 and 4. As we mentioned with that lack of fast repairs, just being able to hang on to that car is critical here. As up front, I believe, looks like Larry Yingling has been able to sneak out in front here. Him and Levi Cox kind of sneaking away right now. With behind them a bit of a gaggle here with Ryan Kelly, Chad Wilkes in there as well, Andrew Clutch. We've got a bunch of drivers here fights for positions. It's like things starting to settle in just a little bit. You see a lot of the field here starting to single file out. So like I mentioned, Larry Yingling puts the fastest lap of the race so far with that 30.8. Right behind him, though, like I said, not too far behind Levi Cox in that number 14 car. And then they've got about a second or so over the 13 of Ryan Kelly. And you can see coming up on the outside is that 28 of Charles Johnson right there in that 5th position. And then right behind him, we got a massive cars. Here you see 17 Chad Wilkes right there, the 82 Andrew Pileshi, Chris Chabot in the number 5 machine. And right behind him, the number 10 of Corey Lane there. So very unfortunate. Outside holster falls from the 2nd position down to the 8th position here. So I think that outside line just did not do him any favors here early on. But again, still a long, long ways to go, so anything can happen. Of course, we'll have to see on the tire strategy as well. See, maybe drivers might be pushing a little harder early. Others might be trying to kind of maintain their stuff here and make that charge later in the run. Jack Wall's right now in that 9th position, just in front of that 23 of Brandon Pasalacqua. So this is right now the 9th and 10th positions, just a little further back. You've got James Ledford up next to that number 2 of Jason Bridges, and then right with him is that 38 of David Patton in that Valvoline car. So these drivers right now fighting for the 11th, 12th, and 13th positions. Then right behind them is the 47 of Dalton Hayes. Dalton's got a pretty cool looking Area 51 paint scheme there, the kind of the yellow and green theme with the flames. So right now Dalton in the 14th position, right behind him at 12 of Robbie Richards, and then Mark Brown in the 16th position right behind him as well. So up front, Larry's been able to stretch just a little bit over that 14 of Levi Cox. But you can also see, though, Ryan Kelly still has not been able to shake any of those cars behind him. Again, still got a long ways to go in this first fuel run. Say, again, if they want to split it in thirds, it'd be right around that 33-34 lap mark. But at the same time, I kind of wonder if they might try to go a little further. You always want to kind of be cautious about not wanting to risk losing, getting caught a lap down, things like that under the pit stop cycle. So I'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. I mentioned Maxwell Caldwell, unfortunately started 6th, fell back to 17th right now. Working to the outside, that was of the 68 of Mark Brown, now working on the 47 of Dalton Hayes. So Maxwell making a good charge to get back to the front here. And saying Homestead also with this progressive banking, you're going to see kind of some different grooves and kind of differing opinions on where you want to be. This is one of those tracks, though, kind of like Michigan as well, where you really won't see drivers too often down at the very white line just because that banking is a little flatter, and so it just does not help the car rotate nearly as well as you'd like it to. So that's why you're going to see most of these cars kind of run that middle to the top, I believe, for most of the race here. Now working on that 12 of Robbie Richards, also right behind the 40 of James Ledford. So like I mentioned, was around 17th or so, not too many laps ago. Now working on getting up into that 12th, 15th position range. So he's definitely trying to make a charge back from losing those couple spots there early on. So we're trying to look around on our intervals here and see who has made the biggest gains so far in the race this evening. So you see close there between the 94 and the 12. But right now, things are holding pretty steady lap time wise. The last time by Chad Wilkes was the quickest car on track. But this time actually they're going to go a little further back. It's going to be David this time in the 38 position. Running in the 31.7 range, which is right around what that leader of Larry Yingling is running as well. So pretty good laps right now for that 38 car who's shown in the 11th position. Things are tightening back up front, though. Say Larry Yingling, looks like that 14 Levi Cox, he's starting to creep back into this picture here. So as they go into turn 1, you can see Levi ducks to the inside, tries to see if he can make the pass. You can see he gets to that white line that we talked about. So we're going to watch some momentum coming out of turn number 2, and actually holds pretty steady there. Is able to keep right on the back bumper of the 67. Can't quite get to his quarter panel there, but definitely putting the pressure on Larry there. And as I say, kind of expected to see here comes that 13 of Ryan Kelly. He's starting to kind of leave that pack behind him. So right now we got the top 3 broken away by about a second over that 28 of Charles Johnson, 17 of Chad Wilkes there, as they're fighting right now for that 4th position here. Also got Chris Jabot in the middle looking underneath that Charles Johnson. Chris going to take it to the inside, see if he can make the pass stick here. So he's got the run there on the exit. I think he's going to be able to clear him. Looks like, yeah, he's going to slide up in front of that 28 car. So move Chris now up into the top 5 after starting in 10th position. So also a good start for him in that number 5 machine as he is going through turns number 1 and 2 as we are on lap number 14. So again, say still 20 time to go. We got 87 laps to go in this one. And so you can see a lot of battle going on track. He's trying to take advantage. So you can see these drivers trying to work over some of these drivers. I think that might be what we're seeing here is just maybe some of the tire wear from some of these drivers might have burned their stuffs up a little bit earlier than they would have hoped for. But back up front, though, we're going to jump over to the lead battle again because, like I mentioned, those top 3 all right within a blanket of each other here. Still Larry holding onto the pace, but Levi trying to find a way to see if he can get around him here. Looks like one of our higher claims. Oh, as I said, we actually have a caution now. I think it's 6 of Bud Steele involved. I think I also may have seen the 2 car. Yeah, Jason Bridges also pretty heavy damage to that machine. 6 also actually missing the whole front clip of his car. So see what happened to both of these drivers here, but that's definitely going to hinder their chance of time again. And say there are no more fast repairs, so that's really going to come into play here. Let's take a look as they come out of turn number 4. Yeah, you just see it looks like the 2 just kind of washed up there they were clearing out of 4, then just washes up into Bud Steele. Bud takes a huge shot there, sends him right across the track here. You see quick reaction. I believe that's the 65 Gary Corley. He's able to get around it, as is the 44 Dwight Plush, but both those drivers definitely heavy damage for them. I'm actually surprised not to see motor damage for the 6 of Bud Steele, but he's going to have a lot of repairs to be done on his car, as is that number 2 as well of Jason Bridges. So with that said, I think at this point I don't think we'll see too much strategy. I think we're going to see everybody come here and take make a pit stop. The question, of course, will be 2 versus 4, but I feel like at this point in the race, I think we're going to see a lot of 4-tire stops here, so we'll keep an eye on that. So to see how everything cycled out, it was really close between Larry and Levi there. They saw Larry say everything kind of funneled in real close there at the pit exit. So Larry trying to make sure he didn't get into any of those cars to his outside. He pretty much just comes to a stop to let them come on by. So to see though between that 67 and the 14, who was the winner on the pit exit? Because it was very close between the 2 of them there. Caution also a big break for that number 53 we'd mentioned, Ryan Walsh. He had missed the initial grid of the race there, so that's going to get him right back into the mix of things here, which I'll say still on the lead lap in that number 53 car. So right now we have 23 of our 25 drivers on the lead lap. Unfortunately, that's 6 and the 34, but still Jason Bridges a lot of damage to fix on their machines, so we'll have to see what they're able to do here. See if they're able to get those cars repaired. But like I mentioned, Bud had a lot of damage to the front end of his car. You can see he's still missing that whole front clip, unfortunately. That being said, though, we already are on the 1 to go here, and it looks like that Levi Cox does wind up winning the race off of pit road. So that's going to be a big advantage for him, as he's now going to have control of this restart, as we're going to take the green here on lap number 20. pace car is about to duck on in. Again, it's going to hand it over to that number 14 of Levi Cox. So basically it's up to him when he wants to fire off here. And he is down and away, so we'll see what kind of a start he can get. But actually, these starts are very equal and ready to go here. So that's going to be one of those things that's going to be something to keep an eye on as these races unfold, and the restarts, of course, as well, to see when to make these runs, make that those restarts, because of course you're going to want to get the best restart you can, because end goal, of course, is going to be to try to get that little bit of any advantage you can get here. It's just going to make that much more of a difference. So you got trouble there on the front lane. He actually hangs onto it there. Don't know how Corey held onto it there. So we'll try to take a quick look at that one before we get back to the action here. You see Corey gets loose, touches the apron. Oh, contact with the 82. Great save by the 82. They hang on to. You see Corey with the really good hands as well. Locks the brakes down and try to keep it straight. So Corey's able to hang on to that car, keep it out of the wall, keeps it under green. That being said, though, while we're watching that, Larry Yingling has been able to get back around that number 14 of Levi Cox, number 67, back out into the lead. And so you got the 17 now in that third position there. Chad Wilkes, Ryan Kelly in fourth, Christian Bale in that fifth position. So right now, these drivers having a good fight here early on. You see that 13 Ryan Kelly all over the back bump right now. That 17 of Chad Wilkes as they go through the front stretch. I do see the 2 of Jason Bridges is back on track. Unfortunately, though, 5 laps down, so he's going to have a long way to time to try to get what he can back. But again, this is race number 1 of a 12-week season, so a lot of time to try to recover, and of course, just try to get the most you can out of everything here. You mentioned Maxwell Caldwell. He's pretty much back up to where he qualified now, showing in the 7th position, working over that number 83 of Jack Wells, trying to get back into that 6th spot. He can't quite get it done there, entering turn number 1. You see Jack gets right to the back of that 5 of Chris Chabot as well. So you got a pretty good battle here for that 5th, 6th, 7th position. And then also, obviously, I have to mention again that 82 of Andrew Pileshi. So he had that contact with the 10. You can see a little bit of left front damage to that car. It doesn't look terrible, but I'm sure he definitely can feel it. He's going to probably have to get that repaired on his next set of pit stops, I would think. I have a feeling that could definitely be playing a role in why he's not able to close that gap to those guys in front of him, as Andrew was the 4th place qualifier here this evening. So I'm just going to try to manage, I think, kind of just try to manage the damage the best you can as this race unfolds, and maybe try to see if you can get a timely caution to get some more damage repaired on that number 82 machine. So kind of the same story as that first part of the run there. You see the 67-14, they have checked out by just about a second. This time Ryan Kelly now in that 3rd position, though. So we'll keep an eye on Ryan here and see if he can kind of close this gap back down as these tires start to wear on his car. As you can see there, you got that the 17 of Chad Wilkes still holding off Chris Chabot. And then mentioned that fight still going on between that 94 and the 83 of Jack Wells and then Maxwell Caldwell here. And also hanging on this little battle here is that 38 machine of David Patton. David right now showing in the 8th position. On board on the roof of that number 38 of David Patton. And you see there that looks like the outside momentum definitely came into play there. You saw how well Max was able to clear the 83 and then put a decent gap on him as well. And so again, we talked about some of these tracks where the preferred line is going to be, and this might be one of those ones again where you actually want to be more towards the outside to get that momentum on exit. As I said, that's been able to get Maxwell back up into that 6th position where he qualified for tonight's race. So from here, he's just going to try to keep climbing his way forward. Like I said, did really good damage control early on to save that car on the early slide there in turn 1 on lap 1, but then now able to climb his way back forward into that top 6 position right outside the top 5 here. And And you see that 20 Charles Johnson has been able to get around Andrew Pileshi there. And right behind him is the 23 of Brandon Pasalacqua. You got also the 88 of Michael Spell, Mark Brown here. 88 of Todd Merkles in this group as well. It's a pretty good group of cars right here. I also got the 12 Robbie Richards, 48 James Ledford. I believe I see the, I think it's Nicholas Lenook there as well in that mix here in the 78 machine. Also got Jim Brooks there, and then the 47 of Dalton Hayes. So you got pretty much this whole group right now, all within about a second of each other. I'm saying this is from around 9th to 19th, so about 10 cars all right here in this little pack right now. I see Nicholas get a little loose there in 1 and 2, able to gather back up. Going to lose a little bit of ground here, but I think that drop should be able to bring him right back into it. Jump back up front to our race leaders though, as that 14 and 67 still holding strong up front. See that 13 Ryan Kelly's starting to close the gap just a little bit here. Last time by Levi was the quickest car on track, and actually as I'm saying that, didn't even notice that the lead actually switched positions there again, where that 14 is getting back around the 67, so apologies there. So say looking at lap times though, that last time by Ryan Kelly about a 1/10 of a second quicker than those top two. Say Chad Wilkes running near identical times as the leaders though, so again, a lot of these drivers right now running in the 31.9s or the 32.0s for the most part right now. You got that 5 of Chris Chabot working over the 17 of Chad Wilkes. Looks like either Chris sent it in deep there or Chad rolled out of it a little bit, let that 5 go by. So I think Chad's kind of on that long run strategy here, going to try to save those tires. But as I say that though, he's going to jump right back to the inside of that number 5, kind of do a little crossover move here through turns 3 and 4 back into turn number 1. But looks like Chris Chabot going to hang on to that position here. And the other thing to mention is that pit stop, when it happened, if I recall correctly, it was right around that lap number 20 mark or so. So again, if that is the case, this fuel window is going to be pretty interesting to see if they could stretch it to make it on a one-stop strategy or not, as that could definitely, obviously the less time in the pits the better. So I want to keep an eye on that as well to see what these drivers are able to do here, because yeah, if you can stretch that field just a little bit more, that could really come into play here. As you see Jack Walls trying to work back over that 94 Maxwell Caldwell, gets to the inside of two. Again, cannot clear him, so you can see the momentum that Maxwell is able to carry there. Actually, as I say that though, Jack does a really good job there in off of turn 2 and is able to hold pretty steady with the 94. So we'll see out of 3, you can see both the drivers had a little bit of a bobble there. I'm saying this time I think we're going to see that momentum. Yeah, as you can see, that 94 clears the 83 car, and I'm saying brings that 38 as well right back into this one. Unfortunately, looks like those two drivers in the last lost caution have retired from the race. That number 2, Jason Bridges, 6 of Bud Steele. So both those drivers have retired, unfortunately, which will put them in 24th and 25th positions respectively. Back up front, I'd say things starting to close back in again, as I'd say Larry has not let the 14 get away, and here comes that 13 Ryan Kelly right back into the mix as well. I also see Chris Chabot in that number 5 car. He's not too far away as well, as also bringing in that number 17 of Chad Wilkes. So not too far away. We're probably going to have another 5-car battle here for that front spot. As also mentioned, that the number 83 and the number 94 still having a really good battle there right behind them. Saying that's opened the door. Now you can see though that 38 car, David Patton's going to try to take advantage of this here. So this is right now a battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th position, just about a second off the lead pack right now. So like I said, it's still definitely within touch here. On board with that number 14 of Levi Cox, looking out the back of his car to that number 67 of Larry Yingling. So we'll kind of take a look at the line that they run here through turns 1 and 2. You can see everybody running pretty similar lines here. Looks like everybody's kind of running that first scene. That is usually the preferred groove to be running here at Homestead. So right now you've got those top three. And actually, as I say that, I'm just going to the 13 of Ryan Kelly for a moment. So it showed pit. Oh, there he is. Okay, I think may have had a little bit of a connection hiccup there for a second. I was a little surprised there. I didn't expect to see Ryan Kelly in the pits so early, and definitely that was the case. They did not pit there. Definitely caught my attention there. See Levi washes up a little bit in 1-2. You can see the momentum that's given Larry Yingling. Gets right to the back bumper of that number 14 car. We'll see if he's going to make a move or stay in the draft. Looks like he's going to hold on to that spot right now. But now Levi goes all the way to the bottom and see if he's going to wash up a little bit because he ran it pretty low there. And that's the risk that you take, is you might get a shorter distance, but it definitely does seem to hurt the exit speed. As right now I feel like the fastest car on track is probably that 13 of Ryan Kelly here. Just has to try to find a way to get around them. That being said, the last few laps, though, that number 5, Christopher, he's been the quickest car on track, as I believe these drivers have just gone a little bit over halfway on their fuel window here. So I'll say these tires are going to start wearing just a little bit more as this run continues on. Up front, you see that 67 Larry Yingling to the inside of the 14 of Levi Cox. So we'll see. Now you see Ryan Kelly. He's going to stay to the top side. So maybe thinking that if that 67 can't get the momentum on the exit, this is where he can maybe try to find his way to get around that 14 car. And you can see there goes that 13. Pushes the 14 down the backstretch. Tries to push him ahead. And at the same time also tries to get himself in a better position against that number 67 Larry Yingling. But I say it looks like the 14 maybe got a little bit too much head of steam entering turn number 1 from that drafting help from Ryan Kelly. And I say it looked like he washed up just a little bit more than he was anticipating there in turns 3 and 4. Apologies, as now they head back into turns 1 and 2 here. You see Christian Bell right there in that mix now in that number 5 car just outside this little group here. Saying also still not very far behind is that 17 of Chad Wilkes as well, as Larry still tries to find a way. He's able to clear the 13 now. Ryan Kelly and get those two back in line. But yeah, so right now it's these top four right now within a half a second of each other. That 5th place just another couple tenths out of that one. So right now got our top 5 all within a second. David Patton, he's been able to get around that 83 and the 94 car. So David's been able to leave those guys behind and kind of separate himself just a little bit from that battle as well. Just a little further back as well. Todd Merkel, he moved his way up now into that 9th position. So Todd started 19th, so that's a really good start for him as well, from 19th to 9th. So they actually have a couple of those right behind him in that same boat there. Robbie Richards from 17th to 10th. Mark Brown there in the 68 machine. He's gone from 20th to 11th, and then Michael Spell 22nd to 12th. So all these drivers making really good gains here early on in this first half of the race. So while things are settling for just a little bit, I'll say we'll go through our running order here. So obviously in the lead right now is that 14 of Levi Cox. Behind him, the 67 of Larry Yingling. Then you've got the 13 of Ryan Kelly. Right behind him, the number 5 of Chris Jabot. And behind Chris is that 17 car of, gotta find him there, of Chad Wilkes. Say Chad right now in that top 5 position. And a little further back, there's that 38 of David Patton. So he has not been able to shake that 83 of Jack Wells, the 94 of Maxwell Caldwell. Those drivers in 6th, 7th, and 8th positions. We'll fall back to the 9th position there with Todd Merkel right behind him. The 12 of Robbie Richards, then the 68 of Mark Brown in 11th position. As we mentioned there, the 80 of Michael Spell there in the 12th position. And we got the 14 of Dalton Hayes, and so you see this little gaggle right behind him. We got the 28 of Charles Johnson in 14th, Andrew Pleshy in that 82 is in 15th. Then you've got the 23 of Brandon Pasalacqua in 16th position, Jim Brooks in 17th, and then James Ledford in that 18th position in that number 48 machine. We got the 78 of Nicholas Winook here in 19th, the number 10 of Corey Lane in 20th, and we've got the 65 of Gary Corley in 21st, and the 44 Dwight Plush in the 22nd position. The 53 car here, you see Ryan Walsh, he has hit the pits to say it looks like a long pit stop for him. Right now showing 5 laps down, unfortunately. Say right now Ryan is 23rd on track. So we're going to jump back up front because you can see these guys just will not give each other an inch up front here. Again, still a great battle going on. But actually, as I say that though, they've been able to gap that 17 and Chad Wilkes a little bit. Now he's about 1.2 seconds off of the lead, whereas he was definitely closer a little earlier on. So those tires might be starting to wear just a little bit for him. See Ryan Kelly trying to work over the 67 Larry Yingling, but right now just doesn't have the momentum he needs to make the pass happen. And then as you can see, kind of Chris Chabot kind of doing similar to what Ryan was trying to do a little earlier. Chris staying to the outside of him, see maybe that can maybe drop him another spot. The other question though, of course, as I mentioned, is the fuel numbers. If these drivers, if they can get to maybe lap 60 or so and get to that 40 to go mark, can these drivers make it to the end from here on one stop? So I think that's going to be the next strategy on some of these drivers' minds, is can they save enough fuel, maybe just be easy on the throttle, roll out early, try to use minimal brakes, see if you can make that happen. So Chris Chabot trying to see if he can make that top side work here around the 13 line, side by side through 1 and 2. We'll see how the exit goes. Still pretty even between the two of them. You see Chris going to get a little bit of a draft down the back behind the 67 of Larry Yingling, and it looks like Chris going to send it deep into turn number 3. Will clear that 13 of Ryan Kelly and move Chris now up into that 3rd position. So I'll say Chris now up from 10th to 3rd here, so a good run for him as we just cross the halfway point in the race. So we have 50 laps to go this time around. And these top 3 again, still running. Top 3 still running about within a 1/10 of a second or so of each other. Also, so pretty much everybody's in the 32 9s or 33 O's or so towards the front here. I'm saying pretty much, yeah, the fast guys are now up front in this race right now. Last time by, it looks like a 33.081 for Levi Cox, 33 flat for Larry, 33.023 for Chris Chabot. 33.010 for Ryan Kelly. So you see all these top 3 right now all running in the 33 O's. David Patton also in the 33 O's in that number 38 car, which is actually really impressive for him as he is a little bit further out by himself, doesn't have too much draft to work with to kind of help that top end as these cars with that high drag, high downforce, lower horsepower. It doesn't have that as much drafting help as I'm sure he would like to be seeing right now. I see the 13 Ryan Kelly able to get back by Chris Chabot for the 3rd position. So we'll see if maybe Ryan's tires maybe starting to come in a little bit more, or maybe again maybe a little bit of strategy adjustments for some of these drivers, thinking that they might be able to stretch it to the end. I'm looking at the run on all these drivers. Nobody topped off on the 1 to go, so everybody's on equal fuel here. So now it's just all about how much fuel they've saved under that caution and during this run, of course, as well. So. I saw that happen last night. Some fuel strategy come into play at last night at Texas in the Cup Series. So see if maybe Area 51 might be running some similar situations here where maybe fuel mileage comes into tonight's race as well. So I see the 47 Dalton Hayes. Oh yeah, so you see the 47 88 both off pace down in the grass. I'll say that will not bring out the caution, but let's go see what happened to them here. 47 looks like it gets loose as they just contact between the two of them, and now heavy contact for both of them actually to that inside wall. So say again, both able to keep it pointed straight though, so no caution from that. So we stay green. Now, as I said, no, now caution does come out. And I believe this time it is the 88 of Michael Spell. Yeah, you can see his motor has popped here. So that is going to put the caution out at lap number 56 with 45 to go. So I was right around that pit window here. So let's take a look, see what happened to Michael. Saw him unfortunately have to do some off-roading there to get back on track. Looks like he went ahead and took the access road here. Oh, unfortunately, just comes out in front of the 65 to 44. I say that spins him back around and see cars on track nearby him. So that's what brought out the caution there. I see he's got some serious motor damage to his machine. However, up front, though, you see here come our leaders all hitting the pit road here. And definitely will be no pit strategy on this one. It's going to be 4 tires and fuel for all of these drivers here as they just went about 40 laps on that last run. I say right now we are at 44 to go, so it would be pretty tight on the window. I'll have to see if anybody maybe does some top-off strategy under this set of caution, or this round of pit stops here. Looks like this time Larry going to hang on to the lead, so it looks like those top 3. Now let's move Larry Yingling back into the lead, Levi Cox into second. You got Ryan Kelly third, Chris Jabot in fourth, and then that 17 of Chad Wilkes in the 5th position. All these drivers right around under caution here. We'll step away for just a moment. And we'll rejoin things here on the 1 to go. So again, really want to thank you all for watching tonight here with Green White Checker TV, broadcasting our Area 51 Racing League Cup Series tonight here at Homestead, our Season 6 opener. Right now our pole sitter Larry Yingling back in front after the pit stop cycle. So we'll rejoin here in just a moment. Alright, we had a few takers here. Looks like the big gambler is going to be Maxwell Caldwell in the 94. They also got Charles Johnson, Dwight Plush, and Levi Cox. Those 4 here topped off on the 1 to go. I believe it looks like Andrew Plush, he had mentioned for him, looks like he topped off on 2 to go in that number 82 machine. So that first pit stop, definitely a longer one. I think getting the damage repaired to his car. Hopefully he'll be able to get back into the mix here. And so unfortunately, it looks like Dalton Hayes, Gary Corley have been trapped a lap down here. They also had some long pit stops, so I believe they had some damage to get repaired on both of their machines. Dalton obviously makes sense as he had that contact with the 88 of Michael Spell. But with that, though, you can see, though, it's kind of changed the running order just a little bit here. You see that number 5 of Chris Chabot now going to restart in 3rd, move Chad Wilkes up into 4th. So again, they'll hand this race lead back over to Larry Yingling. He's going to have control on our restart here. So pace car's going to duck off as it drops right there. Now let's wait for Larry Yingling. He is down and away. Looks like he gets a pretty good start here. You can see he's able to clear the 13 car. He actually those top three also get really good restarts, and they're able to all drop to the inside here, entering turn number 1. A little bit of bobble there from that 17 in Chad Wilkes. That's opened the door for Chris Jabot to try to get back underneath him here. So he's going to try to see if he can send this one into turn number 3 and maybe grab that spot back. But right now, say Chad's still holding pretty steady on the top side. I don't think we see too much fuel saving right now for some of these drivers up front. As it looks like they're going for all the positions they can get early on here. As it looks like through turns 1 and 2, Chad Wilkes sends it deep into turn 1. They're still trying to fight him off that position, but I believe that momentum on the top side, I believe that's going to give it. Yep, there it goes. 17 is going to get back into that third position. And also got to mention here, Robbie Richards in that number 12 car. He's now up into the top 5, so great restart for Robbie. Now up into 5th from that 17th starting position. They got a couple new faces here further towards the front, so we've obviously seen David Patton up front. Same thing for that 83 of Jack Balls, but you can see he's now got some buddies behind him there. 68 of Mark Brown, 81 Todd Merkel, 23 Brandon Pasalaco, 76 of Jim Brooks. All these guys right around that top 10 position here. Jim in 11th right now at the moment. But yeah, so different business starting to pick up a little bit here as some of these drivers might be good to go on fuel to the end. It just depends on if we get a green flag run to the end or not. If the leaders have enough to go, or do any of those drivers that topped off, maybe they'll have enough to stretch their fuel tanks a little bit. See Andrew Question, he's now in 12th position. Recover from that damage he had a little earlier on before the caution came out. And I mentioned there's a couple drivers that topped off here. One of them right there, Maxwell Caldwell in that 94 car, along with Charles Johnson, Levi Cox, Dwight Plesh. So those 4 drivers all topped off under this yellow. So we'll see if that little bit extra, is that enough to carry them to the front. If any of these other leaders have to duck off, maybe they're just banking on yellows. So I'll have to keep an eye on them and see how their progress is through this run. So kind of one of those it's a tough position to be in, because you want to obviously gain positions on track, but you also don't want to be burning off all your fuel trying to get your way through there. So you kind of have to have that balance of speed versus patience, and also fuel saving as well. It's like Larry's kind of snuck away here for a little bit. You see Ryan Kelly, it looks like he might be going back to his normal tire save mode early on. And I say Christian Butler able to the 17 of Chad Wilkes. Saw them fighting earlier on the restart. Now move that number 5 now up into that 2nd position. He's got that 17-13 right on the back of his car. But looks like he's able to clear them entering turn number 3. And he's going to try to set his sights on our race leader, that 67 of Larry Yingling. As a 38 you just saw there of David Patton, he's fighting that number 12, Robbie Richards. This is for the 5th position between the 2 of them. And you see a big move behind us. There's a really good battle going on right here. Between all these drivers, you see the 81, 68s in there, 76 as well. So really good battle. 10 positions here for these drivers with going to be right now 35 to go, going to come around to 34 to go here at the line. Oh, you see close call between the 68 and the 12 there out of turn number 4. That's going to help that number 68 Mark Brown get some momentum off of 4. See if he can complete the pass on that 12 of Robbie Richards. Robbie's going to fight back hard though on the inside line. Tries to get that spot to stick. You see slides through the spot back to the top there out of turn number 2. So Robbie going to hang on to that 7th position here right in front of the 68 of Mark Brown. As I mentioned, 81 Todd Merkel there right behind them. Todd in the 9th position working over that 68 of Mark Brown now. Again, though, say from the way these guys are racing, I don't see too much fuel saving going on here. Saying up front, though, Chris Jabot trying to close that gap over Larry Yingling. Again, it's going to be that kind of that battle we're saying right now. Larry's got the clean air, so I mean, his car's going to be handling better, but also he's the one that's kind of breaking the air in front of everybody else. Chris going to have some draft off of him. 13 of Ryan Kelly. He's going to have some draft off of them as well. So say of these leaders right now, probably at 67, getting, I would think, probably the worst fuel mileage of our leaders. But again, it really just depends on how they're driving it here. I mean, if they're really setting it in deep and getting on the brakes, as you see, it looks like the 17 Chad Wilkes with a good fight with David Patton here for fourth. But yeah, it's really just all about how you drive it here. If you're just kind of using the throttle and rolling out of it and getting back into it, or if you're having to kind of send it in there, use the brakes, obviously that's going to use more fuel. So the less time you can have on the gas pedal, the more you kind of treat it like you got an egg under there, the more fuel you're going to be able to save. And say there's definitely drivers that are really good at saving fuel. And there's others that, myself included, usually not very good at saving fuel. So say just drivers have to find little tricks and things that work for them. I'll say one thing I've always tried is I just try using the clutch, where maybe lift a little earlier than I would normally would use the engine kind of at its own brake. But instead of that, you almost literally just coast into the turn. So basically, instead of lifting, you just basically push your clutch pedal in and then just idle into the turn a little bit. And just again, to have to kind of find yourself in position there. It just depends on, again, we're not sure what the fuel mileage is on some of these cars. Some drivers might be getting better than others. I heard that 40 lap window was a potential there, as we're going to have 29 to go here this time around. So again, say still about 30 laps to go, and say these drivers pitted about 16 laps to go, a couple under caution. That's going to be over that 40 lap mark, so we'll have to wait and see. As you see, Chris Chabot, he's going to jump to the inside of Larry Yingling, entering turn number 3. Looks like Larry definitely rolled out of it early there, going to move the lead now to that number 5. So we've got a new race leader, that number 5 of Chris Chabot. Started in the 10th position, now up into first. He crosses the line here with 28 laps remaining here at Homestead, Miami. Again, our season 6 opener here. Look out the back of that number 5 of Chris Chabot. You see, got Larry Yingling right there, but here comes Ryan Kelly as well. Ryan's going to send it into turn number 3, and looks like, again, Larry's going to roll out of it early. Let that number 13 car go around this time by. So I'm wondering if Larry might be thinking this has a long-run look to it, and maybe just try to save as much fuel as he can, like we were talking about. Let someone else lead the pack here. Let them burn their fuel up, and you just kind of try to stay as tight as you can on them and use that draft and not have to kind of push quite as hard, and just with this package here, so the draft really comes into play here. Again, got to mention still, again, a really good run here for David Patton. So he started in the 11th, up into that 4th position. He's been able to clear himself with that little gaggle behind him. 17 of Chad Wilkes doing what he can to hold off Jack Walls right there. Robbie Richards and that 68 of Mark Brown, they're all right here together. This is 5th through 8th right here. They separated themselves just a little bit there. But now you got another battle here between, you got Jim Brooks right there, Todd Merkel, and they say, yeah, those drivers that topped off on the 1 to go, Levi Cox, Maxwell Caldwell, they're making their way up right into that top 10 mix right now, and only 2.5 seconds out of the lead, so they're still in a pretty good spot here. As you see, there's the 88, unfortunately, Michael Spell with that heavy damage to his car. He stays on the apron, stays out of the way. So again, really good courtesy for him there. You can see now that 14 trying to keep that 76, I believe, pins to the bottom. So you use that momentum on the top side to try to grab that spot away from him. And the draft, of course, down here, down the front stretch. And it looks like the 94 Maxwell Caldwell is going to try to do the same here as they go into turn number 3. You can see the momentum, how you can just carry so much speed on the top side. I believe that's going to carry Maxwell around through the through the top around the 76 of Jim Brooks. And now you see that 14 car, Levi Cox, he's going to jump to the inside now of Todd Merkel. We'll see if he can clear him off of 2. Otherwise, I believe that 81 is going to have some pretty good exit speed off of 2. But he is able to clear him, so move the 14 now up into the 9th position. Now again, Maxwell's going to try to keep following suit. I think these two are going to try to kind of keep their eyes set on each other, because say they're on that same strategy. So probably think is like, hey, if this guy can make it, I probably can too. So I got to make sure I stay in touch here to have a chance at the win if these leaders have to make a pit stop towards the very end of this race. Up front, Chris Chabot still hanging on to the lead over Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, and now David Patton again still closing that gap slowly but surely. As we have 23 to go here at Homestead. The next time around is going to be 22 laps remaining. And again, say that. So basically, I mean, if you do the math there, say this next time around is going to be lap 23 of the run. With 22 to go, that's going to be 45 laps, and including a couple caution laps. So the number, it could be really close on that fuel window here. As Ryan Kelly, though, he's going to make his move to the inside of that 5. Looks like Ryan Kelly now into lead, as I believe this may be his first lap sled of the race tonight. I say Larry Yingling try to see if he can follow through. He's going to fall back in behind that number 5 car, though. So now we've got our top 3 here, all still nose to tail. David Patton, though, as I mentioned, not too far behind in that 30. Oh, you see the 13. Ryan Kelly gets tight auto turn 4. He had to roll out of it just a little bit, and that's given a lot of momentum back to Chris Jabot. He's going to peek back to the inside. The thing is, like I said, though, he's going to have to clear him, otherwise he's going to get pinned to the inside. So we'll see how he brings it up. Turn number 1 is. Chris just has him cleared. He's going to slide back up, but here comes the momentum. You see that 13 gets behind. Oh, but actually, he decides to roll back out of it a little bit. He said Larry Yingling. He had to react to that as well. So I think that might be a little bit of a fuel-saving move for that 13 car, just to save that little bit extra right there. But you can see the momentum that cost him, though. Now you got the 67 Larry Yingling looking back to the inside as that number 5 Chris Jabot takes the lead back again here as we have 20 to go. David Patton now right in the thick of this one as well in that 4th position. You can see him there. He's going to look to the inside of Ryan Kelly entering turn number 3. We'll see if he's able to clear him. Sends it deep into turn number 3. He's going to clear that 13 car on entry. Looks like able to get the car stopped so it can make a rotation as well and get it turned out of turn 4 and hang on to that 3rd position. And just a little further there, see the 23 Brandon Pasalacqua. He is now in the 13th position there, just a little bit behind Jim Brooks as well. So we got the 17 looks. He's still in that big fight here with the 83. So I feel like him and the 83, they've been together all night here. As they were mentioned, that 14 and the 94, here they are now still in 19th, 10th. They've closed the gap to that 68 of Mark Brown. So again, still showing just about 2.5 seconds off our leaders. So if those leaders have to start saving a little bit of fuel, that's where advantage I feel like is really going to fall into the hands of those two, as everybody in front of them pitted 27 laps ago, whereas they topped off on that one to go with 25 laps remaining. See the 14 working to the inside of that 68 of Mark Brown. See if he can complete the pass through 3 and 4. He is close, but I think the momentum is going to shift back to the 60 at Mark Brown, and sure enough, you can see can't quite claim he's going to have to stay to the inside here, entering turn number 1. So kind of again, looks like he'll complete the pass there. Now Max is going to try to follow through in that car. So we'll see if he's able to make the move stick here as well, but can't quite do it either. So we'll watch the momentum, but Maxwell had a good exit off of 2, loses a little bit from the draft. You see Maxwell sends it deep there into turn number 3. He's going to clear that 9, that's the 60, I should say, on entry. So now they're going to have their set sight on that 12 of Robbie Richards, and it looks like almost, as they look at the 14, try to get to the outside of that 12, couldn't quite do it though. So they're going to now be in that 8th and 9th positions for the moment here. Back up front, things still holding pretty steady here. Saying again, I have a feeling, I say we saw 13, Ryan Kelly made a big run for the lead there, and then say had a little bit of a bobble off 4, and then he's backed it off a little bit. So I'm kind of thinking Ryan Kelly might be going full fuel save right now, possibly knowing that those 2 behind him with those that topped off on the one to go, knowing they have a little bit more fuel than he does. So maybe he's going to try to offset it here with that number 13 machine. So right now, 15 laps to go. Again, he said that fuel is going to be something to keep an eye on. We don't know if and who can make it to the end. It's going to be interesting to see what these drivers are able to do. Like I said, we saw it last night in the Cup race at Texas. We have a similar deal here at Homestead Miami Speedway with this Area 51 Racing League. As Chris Jabot still hangs on to the lead over that 67 of Larry Yingling. You see Larry's putting a lot of pressure on him, and like I mentioned also, that 38 David Patton, he is right there. Say a little further back, Levi Cox still cannot find a way to get around that number 12 of Robbie Richards, so he has not been able to get it done as of yet. Again, still doing everything he can. He doesn't want to waste too much time battling for those positions, as it looks like up front Larry Yingling battling for the lead with that number 5 as they go side by side here through 3 and 4. Larry all the way to the bottom. You see Chris goes up a little higher. We'll see what kind of momentum they get down the front stretch. Looks like pretty equal right now through the start-finish line. Send it into turn number 1. Say Larry might have a slight advantage here as this is a bit of a faster turn. Say it's interesting. While this track looks to be completely symmetrical, you can take turns 1 and 2 a lot faster than 3 and 4. 3 and 4 you have to really slow the car down a lot more. So say I feel like 1 and 2 is probably the advantage is going to be to that inside line, whereas 3 and 4 I think you can really carry momentum pretty well on that top side. As right now these leaders 2 by 2 up front here for the lead. Larry tries to clear the 5 car, just does it. Chris is going to try to cross him over here down through the front stretch back into turn number 1. Looks like Larry is going to clear that number 5 car down the back. So that's bringing the 13 Ryan Kelly right back into this one as well. So I'll say it was a really good move there. Say Larry really had to squeeze that gap and try to complete the pass, but unfortunately now it looks like Chris is going to be pinned to the inside. So I think he's going to fall back right now to that 4th position here. He's going to drop back in line right behind that 38 of David Patton. And again, we have to wonder about the fuel numbers still again with these leaders. None of these guys have pitted since we went back green. They've all been 34 laps since their last pit stop. And I say a little further back, that 14 car has been able to get around the 12th to move Levi now into 7th. Again, he's still got a couple cars to get around to try to get up to that lead pack. As you see, he tries to get underneath the 83 of Jack Walls. Can't quite make it happen. They're about 2 seconds right now off of the lead pack as we have 10 laps to go here at Homestead Miami Speedway. While things starting to kind of spread out just a little bit up front. So you see Larry England got about a 2/10 of the second lead over Ryan Kelly. That 38 David Patton right on the back bumper of that 13 car though. And that number 5 of Chris Jabot in 4th drifting back just a little bit, just a couple tenths off of that 38 car as well. Hey Charles, good to see you. So yeah, the Dark Horse boys right now, I think Brennan might be the top runner of those. I still have to learn who's all part of that team right now. Brennan in the 13th position. Say Nicholas Winook, I believe, had a little bit of contact earlier in the race. Let's see, he's in 17th position. That being said, though, you're going to have to kind of cue me in on who all the member of your guys' team, so that way I can kind of keep you abreast of where everything is in this one. Alright, we have 8 laps to go. You see the 67-13 there starting to sneak away just a little bit. David Patton still does not want to give up. So I think Chris Jabot, though, his tires might be starting to show their age, and say just with him fighting as hard as he was for the lead. Again, though, say that also could be a little bit of strategy. He might be trying to save fuel here, knowing he was fighting hard there early on. Say while he's got some kind of a gap behind him with those cars, maybe this is probably actually the most opportune time to make this, try to do some fuel saving in that number 5 machine. As they see right now, that 1483 now battling for the 6th position. Actually, yeah, 6th position, I'm sorry. See Levi Cox trying to see if he can get around Jack Walls there. And so it looks like Levi will complete the pass entering turn number 1. So now he's actually got 2 cars between himself and Maxwell Caldwell. So Maxwell wants to try to, again, wants to stay with that 14 car as he's going to be the one that is on that same fuel strategy as him. But right now, the advantage is to that 14 car on that side of things. But again, we don't know on the fuel saving side, have the leaders done enough? Can they make it to the end? As Larry England going to cross the line here with 6 laps to go here at Homestead, Miami. Alright, coming out of 3 and 4, going to take 5 to go here. You see they're coming up on Dalton Hayes and Dwight Plesh. So I have a feeling we'll see those two not put up any much of a fight there, probably just get out of their way. Like I said, we've seen a lot of respect given by these drivers here week in, week out. And so that's one of the things that we really like to see here with this Area 51 Racing League is just the respect these drivers give one another. Which right now, though, like I said, Larry England is doing what he needs to do to hold onto this lead. Say Ryan Kelly not giving them much room to breathe, and again, don't also know how much they've been abusing their fuel here, starting to fight now towards the end of this run. You see Ryan gets a little tight there out of turn number 4. So we'll see that lets the 38 of David Patton come a little closer or not. Say next time around, we're going to see what the lap times look like. That last time by, that 38 car of David Patton was the quickest on track, and actually, I'll say false alarm. Thought I saw the 14 Levi Cox hit the pits, and that would have definitely thrown me for a loop there, as he was one of those ones to top off. So Levi is still on track in 6th position, so crisis averted there. But yeah, that 38 car though, quickest on track by about a 1/10 of a second that last time around. We'll see what they're able to do this time. Going from across the line. This time, that 67 Larry England just about half a tenth or so quicker than Ryan Kelly, David Penn. I say they're all running right within each other's lap time wise. So you see Chris Chabot still right there in the mix as well in 4th position. Again, he's kind of falling off the lead pack, but that may be part of the plan. Don't know if that's tire wear or if that's fuel saving right now for this number 5 machine. And behind him, that 17 of Chad Wilkes there. He's got that 14 of Levi Cox trying to hunt him back down as we just cross line 2 laps to go here at Homestead. Say if they've got the fuel, now's the time to use it. So Larry Yingling, he's going to be hoping to see this white flag next time around. He wants everybody to try to keep it clean. That way he can fight it between himself and that 13 of Ryan Kelly. Saying, and also, how, of course, though, having to have enough fuel to make it to the distance. Alright, Larry's coming out of turn number 4. Sees that white flag in the flagman's hand. He's going to take the white flag. So we have 1 lap to go here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Larry now just got to make sure he has enough fuel to make it to the end. Same thing goes for that 13 of Ryan Kelly. They do enough to save enough fuel to make it to the end. See the 38 of David Patton there in that 3rd position. And 4th is that number 5 of Chris Chabot. We'll keep an eye, make sure nobody has any sputters here coming out of turn number 4. Larry Yingling coming off the 4. Looks like he's going to have enough to make it happen. Larry Yingling going to get the win tonight here at Homestead. Ryan Kelly in 2nd. David Patton is going to finish in 3rd. Chris Chabot in the 4th position. Chad Wilkes in 5th. Levi Cox 6th. And we've got Robbie Richards 7th. Maxwell Caldwell in 8th. Jack Walls 9th. And Mark Brown going to round out our top 10. So say with all those threats about the fuel and everything like that, looks like it was all for naught. So these guys looks like they had plenty of fuel to make it to the end. Saying knowing Larry, he's going to rub it in my face here. He's going to have enough fuel to do some donuts, I believe, as well. So keep an eye on him and watch him celebrate the win tonight. Larry does some burnouts here on the front stretch, winning tonight here at Homestead. Say wins from the pole position as well, so great job for Larry Yingling, able to hold off Ryan Kelly, David Patton. Say great runs for them as well, as we mentioned, Chris Chabot, Chad Wilkes. So congrats to all of these drivers here on their top 5 finishes tonight. And so now we got to pull up some drivers and get some interviews, and we're going to start off with that number 38 of David Patton. See if we can hunt him down. There he is. All right, so we're going to pull in that 38 of David Patton. Grabs the 3rd place finish here this evening. So you started 11th, able to bring it back up into 3rd. And say kind of for you, it's just kind of a slow climb to the front. And say we saw you have a kind of around the top 5 or so earlier than after those the first set of green flag pits, or sorry, the first set of caution flag pit stops. To say you kind of closed the gap even more, and then just from there, just kind of progressively moved your way forward there. I mean, take us through your race and say, was there anything that you would have done differently to have a chance at that 13 and the 67 there at the end?
Well, I mean, I figured, going through qualifying kind of shot my confidence a little bit when I saw I was midfield, but I usually don't qualify very well. So I figured, you know what, I'm just going to try and be slow and steady and conservative, and try and save the tires and see how far that gets me. And I noticed that, it was working, and I just slowly started climbing up the ladder there, and found myself near the top five. And at the end, after that last caution, we were all real. I mean, I was pretty close on fuel. I'm pretty sure everybody was real close on fuel. So it was kind of reminiscent of the race, the real life Cup race at Texas, where you had to balance pushing the car and then also getting off the throttle and saving enough fuel. And with about 10 to go or so, I decided just to turn it on. I think I realized I had made my goal of fuel saving, and I tried, but I think the other two guys in front of me had the same idea, and they turned it on even more. So I was considering going up on the high line, but I was a little afraid to even try it because I know how the track works here in iRacing, and sometimes that doesn't always work out. And with the worn tires, I was not really willing to do that, so I kind of settled. I kind of settled for third. I don't think I would have been able to catch those two anyway, to tell you the truth.
So they are definitely tough competitors to compete with for sure. Say Ryan, we kind of joke around Ryan Kelly being kind of Mr. Long Run, and say obviously Larry Yingling didn't run last season, kind of doing some crew chiefing. I believe for those guys up there. But when we have seen him race, he's definitely been one to beat as well. So I mean, so you kind of went up against the best that I feel like here at Area 51. So I mean, you did a really good job though tonight. And like you said though, it's a little risky, like you said, to try to change grooves kind of midway through, especially on those older tires. It seemed like that kind of that first seam was really the place you wanted to be. But at the same time, though, you needed to have that momentum. It felt like on the top side from where I was watching, because you could get to the inside of somebody, but if you couldn't clear them, that top line would really progress them back across down the front stretch or the back stretch off of 2 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of the trick here, especially with the way the tracks work in iRacing. It seems to be a common issue. And the more the tires wear, the harder it is to do that, because you got to lift more and more. And when you have less track to use, if you have somebody on your outside, you got to lift more and more and more, and that guy on your outside is still enjoying the advantage of grabbing that momentum off the top line with the progressive banking the way that it is. So it is really tough, and you kind of really have to try and make your moves as early as possible, and then try and switch over to the tire game, and try not to use up your stuff more than the next guy. And I was really kind of hoping that those two guys, Ryan and Larry, were going to get side by side at least in the final 10 laps, and hoping that would slow it down enough where I could maybe get up there and go on the attack and take an advantage of any opportunity. But it just didn't happen. It was a really good race. I'm the new guy here at Area 51. They let me come on board halfway through last season, and I was kind of just putzing around in the back, and kind of seeing how things run. I really like the league. I like the way that they run it. I like the guys that race here, and I think tonight showed that we got some really strong competitors here. So I'm excited for the rest of the season. But third place, I'll take it. It's a good way to start it out.
Yeah, it's a great result there for your first race of the full season. So looking forward to seeing you battle up front here in some future races. I know you already did part of it there. I'll say any thanks shots you'd like to give for maybe anybody watching, anything like that for tonight's race.
Yeah, of course. I got well. First, I'll thank the league, Area 51, and all the admins that put all this stuff together. And they it's a lot of work. I ran a series in a league for a long time, and I know the amount of work that goes into it. So thank you to those guys. Thank you to you, Gail, as well, for your broadcasts. You do an awesome job. I've watched them a lot, and you're really good at calling races, and I like your style. I'd like to thank my future wife, Natalie, who's in the other room. I always got to thank her. It's, the good women behind us that let us have our little hobby that makes this all possible. And I got a buddy out in Florida right now, Ryan, who's an old karting friend of mine who's going to engineering school down there. I think he's watching, so I'll shout out to him and, say what's up, Ryan, and thanks for watching the stream.
That's awesome. I say that's perfect. Yeah, like you said, it's always nice to have the partner in crime kind of let us have our fun and do our hobbies that say they may not be 100% understanding, but they say hey, you enjoy it, have at it. And like I said, always cool to have some friends to be able to catch these races. So again, great run, David. And I look forward to seeing you in some of these future races and get some more interviews with you.
Yeah, me too. Hope so. Thanks, Gail.
All right, so that is our third place finisher, that number 38 of David Patton. So we're going to grab now our second place driver, that number 13 of Ryan Kelly here. Ryan started in the 5th position, brought it home in 2nd. So he did everything he could to try, I think, get around that number 67 of Larry Yingling. Say Larry hopped off the crew chief box, Ryan, and say decided to hop back in the seat, and say you might be trying to maybe try to send him back up in the crew chief spot for a little while, huh?
Yeah, I need him back on the box because he's too quick.
So you guys put on a really good show. So we obviously saw you kind of do that long run pace that you normally have as always. But say I was talking to David about that. How tight were you on fuel? Were you saving early, or were you just trying to kind of run your own pace and see where maybe the fuel was towards the end of it?
Yeah, I started saving from the start of that green flag. I was turning the engine off for a while, going into the turns to try and save a little extra, but yeah, I think I had a half a gallon coming across the line at the finish, so I could have went another lap or two if needed.
Okay, so yeah, so you actually cut it pretty tight there, and saying that's I was mentioning during the broadcast. Like one thing I usually do is I just try to clutch the car on entry to really save it on save some fuel. Let's say so you're actually going a step further and shutting the whole car off completely, and then obviously getting it back up to speed. I mean, how much does that throw off your rhythm when you do that kind of thing? Because obviously you're really used to obviously your kind of your entry points and either lifting points, braking points, things like that. Say, does it take you a couple laps to kind of get the feel of where you need to maybe shut that motor off when you are going full fuel save?
Yeah, it takes a couple laps to just get used of how much slower you're going and just where to turn the engine back on and where to shut it off. But if you can do it right, it'll save a good amount of fuel.
Well, you definitely saved enough to make it to the end. I say we saw a couple drivers top off on the one to go. Wasn't sure if that was going to come into play or not, but you guys, as always, let's say you did everything you needed to do, speed and fuel saving wise, to make it happen. So, I mean, it's a really good way to obviously to start off the season 6 here. Say obviously 12 weeks in it, so only 2 cautions for 7 laps, and say able to get that second place run. So, a good way to start things off for you. Any thanks shouts you'd like to give for that run tonight?
Yeah, just all my teammates for this race and Charles and all the admins for putting on a good league.
Well, great run, Ryan. Say, like I said, say we'll to get Larry back up into the crew chief box at some point. That way, won't make life as difficult for you. Hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right, great run, Ryan. Say, look forward to chatting again with you here soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we got to pull in our race winner. Say we're joking with Ryan there. Say spent season 5 in the crew chief box. Decided to hop back down there and show him how it's done, and say we're able to do so right off the bat there. Larry getting the win here tonight, holding off Ryan Kelly, David Patton. So you had to. It was kind of like I say, it was kind of a tricky one to fight there at the end because you kind of have to balance that running for the win, probably saving some tires, but also of course saving the fuel. I mean, what was your approach there, trying to balance all 3 of those things?
I know at the start of the run, I right before green flag, I thought we weren't going to make it for sure. Then I started to save fuel at the start of the run, and I was just staring at my fuel, and I started to think there's a good chance we can possibly make it. And lap time started dropping because of old tires, and I crossed the line with I think less than a lap and a half to go on fuel. But it was an overall pretty good race, nice clean race. I enjoyed it. My first race back in a while, and it's glad a good 1-2 for the team.
Yeah, you guys had a really good run tonight. I say had a bunch of you there up front early on, and then the fuel strategy. I think maybe, like I said, we saw Chad, we saw Maxwell. They went ahead and topped off there to maybe see if they could stretch it that little bit extra. Which let's say, unfortunately for them, didn't wind up kind of panning out the way they were hoping to. I'm sure, but like I said, I mean, you guys are able to kind of manage the speed as well as the fuel at the same time. So I mean, it's obviously not an easy thing to do. Say Ryan mentioned that he was actually shutting the car off completely, entering the turns to save fuel. Were you doing similar on your side, or were you just maybe clutching it, or what was your kind of your fuel savings of choice, if you will?
At the beginning, I started just clutching it, entering, and then as I just kept looking at fuel and the thought of possibly making it, I started shutting the engine off also while leading and just trying to keep that lead. And right when it became a turning point of having to slow down more in the corner because of old tires, and I was still doing it, and that's when I lost the lead to Chris, and then I just tried to fight back, get that lead back, and hope no caution came out.
Yeah, you guys had a really. I was like, and that's the thing is, I mean, it's a really exciting fight for the win there between all of you. I mean, between like I said, saving fuel, and then of course trying to get that track position, and of course making sure you're maintaining those tires, not burning everything up. I say you had a little bit of everything to do, so I'm sure it was keeping you busy behind the wheel there.
Yeah, it was pretty fun and nerve-wracking because I knew the last Homestead race we did, Levi and others pitted with a caution when it was right on the money for the fuel, and I mean, watch them on my relative because if they passed us, I know for sure they were gonna fuel, and I think they got stuck in traffic a little bit, but me and Ryan is able to stay out front.
Yeah, so you guys did exactly what you had to do to get the win there, balance everything out. So, I mean, a great job. Congrats on the win. Definitely want to give you an opportunity here. Any thanks, shouts you'd like to give for pulling off the win this evening?
Yeah, definitely on my teammates this race: Maxwell Caldwell, Andrew Pleshy, Levi Cox, Ryan Kelly, and Chad Wilkes. And thank you for the broadcast and everyone, Area 51, for putting this league on. It keeps getting better and better every season, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Congrats, Larry. Say enjoy it. And I look forward to chatting again with you here soon in these future races.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so there is our race winner, that number 67 of Larry Yingling, balancing fuel and tires and just track position to get the win tonight here at Homestead. Let's go ahead and pull up our results for the evening. Larry Yingling with the win by about 7/10 of a second over Ryan Kelly. David Patton there in third, just about 4/10 behind. So you got Chris Jabot in fourth, Chad Wilkes in fifth. Levi Cox able to bring it up to sixth position after topping off on that one to go. Robbie Richards in seventh. Maxwell Caldwell brings it home in eighth after doing the same strategy as well, topping off on the one to go. We got Jack Walls in ninth. Mark Brown rounds out our top 10. In 11th, you've got Jim Brooks, Todd Merkel in 12th, and you got Brandon Passalacqua, Corey Lane, James Ledford, Charles Johnson, Nicholas Winook, Andrew Paleshi. We saw with that damage, unfortunately for him, I think that hurt his top end speed on that number 82 machine. You got Dwight Plesh, Gary Corley round out our top 20. A few drivers unfortunately had some issues during the race. Dalton Hayes, Ryan Walsh. We saw Michael Spell with that nose damage to his 88 machine, and then Jason Bridges, Bud Steele with that early contact. Unfortunately, ended their nights early as well. So again, really want to thank everybody for joining us tonight here at Green White Checkered TV. Another great race put on by these drivers here at the Area 51 Racing League. Again, if you're looking for a league to run in, you can find them at area51iracing.com. Say this was our season 6 opener here tonight on Thursday. On Tuesday, we had our opener for the Indy Series. And then coming up on Sunday, we'll have our Season 6 opener for the Area 51 Racing League Super Speedway Cup Series, where they'll be bouncing it between Daytona and Talladega. And so I know coming soon, I believe there is rumors of that Coca-Cola Speedway, so we'll see. Maybe that one could get added to the mix. That should be a pretty exciting track to have some fun with as well. But that being said, of course, happy Friday Eve. And until Sunday, I hope you all have a wonderful evening, wonderful weekend. And as always, please try to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and have a good night.